You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We do not have any new callers today, but we have Kyle from Madison.
Ryan, what's up, man? It's Kyle from Madison. I hope you are well, sir.
Good.
I hope you enjoyed our schizophrenic week of weather. I believe it was where I lived. If you count the wind chill, we had like an 89-degree shift in weather over 90 hours.
It's pretty shocking.
And within that was also like 16 inches of snow that then melted. I have one little like basketball-sized pile of snow that's holding up right now, like trying to be the last one. But
yeah,
this is some crazy stuff going on. I wanted to call you, and I'm going to split this into two calls, because I was thinking about myself as a fan this time of year last year, pre-Parsons and whatever, thinking about this team and trying to kind of sort that with what then went on to transpire from each side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And through that lens, in retrospect, pick a player on each side of the ball that like completely exploded my expectations, like went above and beyond. And I'm going to start with the defensive side of the ball. And I'm going to give an honorable mention here as well. I think, first of all, we kind of went into the season and it was going to be, all right, this is going to be the Edge Cooper, probably LVN, this is their year, And it didn't end up working out that way for different reasons, maybe. I think this next year will definitely be the make or break year for LVN. Cooper's probably bought himself a little more grace time, but I would say honorable mention this year, defensive side of the ball, would be Javon Bullard. Mm-hmm. I thought he popped off the screen early and often, hitting with attitude, and kind of disappeared a little bit, but was really a good presence throughout the whole season. But dude, the guy I got to give it to, man, is Evan Williams. Like, this guy has become a superstar for us. Like, he is on the cusp. If you think about what he did this year and like just what it felt like to have him out there, he was an absolute stud last year in my mind. And him and McKinney back there, that is a compelling safety duo. There is no doubt about it. And I can't remember what game it was. I think he was out a game or two this year, and it just absolutely showed, not just like tactically, but just the attitude of that secondary. And like, how cool is it that freaking Evan Williams is becoming, plus he's an awesome name, but the fact that he is becoming the player that he is right now, man, is just incredible to me. I'll let you comment on that, and I'm going to call back.
Yeah, Williams is it's weird. It's I don't want to say underrated, because I don't think he is. Yeah, I mean, depending on who you're talking to, he could be overrated or whatever, but just kind of flies under the radar a little bit. I think from my perspective, the thing I like the most about him is that he's just consistent. You just feel good having him there. I don't know if I put, superstar or anything on it, just in terms of like his ability. But in terms of his consistency and reliability, I absolutely love having him on the team. And I think as far as, Gutekunst goes and hits and misses and all that, that was a phenomenal pickup. And as far as Bullard, I mean, that would be my vote as far as who overachieved. Because with Williams, we kind of saw it coming. His rookie year was pretty solid. Bullard was awful. He was horrific as a rookie. And for him to even come in and be decent is a pretty solid jump, in my opinion. So, yeah, very, very excited about those two guys. definitely begs the question of this year. You know, there's no guarantee anybody really takes a jump, but, you know, if somebody were going to, kind of where would you put that? And that's kind of where I forgot who it was, but somebody kind of called in and was like, you know, you were kind of down on Bullard, and then Bullard kind of popped off, and now you're kind of down on Belton, second round pick, et cetera, et cetera. You know, I don't know, maybe. I would be super excited, by the way, of Belton. Like, of all people, it's actually similar to Bullard, because I liked Bullard when we drafted him. I was very excited about him and his, you know, his physical style and all that kind of stuff. He's a fun guy to root for. If Belton ends up being awesome, that is super awesome in terms of like the upside and potential that guy has to be an absolute monster. I probably should be rooting for Jordan Morgan. I mean, I'd be fine with anybody. I mean, Jordan Morgan to be an elite left tackle would be massive, but just having this gigantic, you know, relatively athletic for his size, mauling right guard, you know, on a team that is probably overly committed to running the ball and is just desperately wanting that to be their identity, as opposed to like, can we just throw the ball well? Like, isn't that what wins in the NFL today? I don't understand. Freaking obsession, but yeah, it would be glorious if that could happen. Be a good question either way to kind of open it up for anybody wanting some topics to come in on. If you had to pick a name, who is it?
Now, offensively, there's a couple directions I think you could go. First of all, I think the obvious thing that was so amazing to see and a bit surprising, but like kind of not surprising too, was the way that Christian Watson came back. I think that just needs to be said, because that was a crazy high level of play from him coming off that injury. Of course, we're going to need to see what happens now, but really good signs. But I would say the honorable mention on offense has got to go to Tucker Kraft.
Sure.
We hope this would be what
sure.
happened. And the reason he doesn't take the trophy is because right as he was a few inches from the summit, of course, you know, he gets hurt.
Yep.
Which just obviously is devastating. But dang, was he a revelation while we had him last year? I think had we had him the whole season, the positive dominoes that would have resulted from that would have been I think a lot different result offensively for us. But the guy that gets this award, man, it's got to be Jordan Love. It's got to be Jordan Love. I think our view of maybe Love, or at least certainly the national media view of Love, gets maybe a little bit tainted because of the injury-plagued up and down season he had before. Especially coming off of just the astronomic peak he had towards the end of his first year as a starter.
Sure.
So when you sit back and you think, you know, he missed a couple games and probably he wouldn't have been pulled out of that Vikings game if they had something to play for. Even such, you know, like with the state of that offensive line this year, I mean, you think about what he did in that Lions game, man. Guys in his face, throwing him to the ground as he's throwing dimes to Wicks. I mean, that is just a disgusting game. You have a guy that he only had 6 interceptions all freaking year. 6 interceptions. He had 9 games with over 100 passer rating. And some of them a lot over it. He played, if you count the playoff game, 15 games that he finished. 6 of those he had over 110, and several were in the 120s and even over 130. I just can't overstate how ridiculous the play of Jordan Love was. You have to be so critical of this guy if you want to find problems with his game last year. Like, to have him bounce back from injury and play that kind of game, or that kind of season, dude, I don't know what more people freaking want out of Jordan Love, man.
Yeah, and I think Tucker and Jordan are almost kind of opposites in a way. Jordan, I mean, it's a little hypocritical coming from me because I was saying, you know, we don't know for sure, but it was more of a like, you know, I just like to see a little bit more. But he was elite. And people saying he wasn't or he didn't show it or whatever were just wrong. And so that was really just like my concern with Jordan was just more of a like, is it real? You know, like, can you just do it a little bit longer so I can have a little bit more faith? Because although it's going to be difficult to be that good for that stretch of time, it's not impossible. It gets to be impossible over, you know, like a season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, you know. That's when you're just good, you know. With Tucker, I feel like he probably, like, if you were to vote on this, and Tucker would probably get a good amount of votes, but I feel like he wouldn't get enough credit for how much of a breakout he had. And I think the biggest problem is he was kind of overrated going into this. And I think a lot of people take it as more of a see, haha, I told you so, than genuinely acknowledging it for what it is, which is a massive breakout. It's kind of viewed as like he was always this good. Like it was a better season, but like he was always that dude. I told you. And it's like, well, you did tell me, but you were wrong before. And then he did break out this year. So yeah, I mean, I think for me, Tucker 100% would be the breakout guy. Jordan, I don't think he was, well, he was actually, he was better, which is shocking, but it's not so much that he was better. It's the how much better he got from this year compared to last year or 2 years ago or whatever isn't really the story. It's just more of the cementing of that sort of legacy or whatever that gets me excited. So, yeah, again, it's a good question. Offense, defense, special teams, whatever. Kind of your breakout player. Who would you nominate last year, and also who would you nominate for this year?
And so, real quickly, just to sum that up, and if you have other guys that you think are more deserving, I think, you know, there's probably some arguments to be made, but at the end of the day, Goody and this team have got to make decisions that are going to maximize these things. Like, obviously, when you got Parsons and you've got legitimate pass rush pressure, the secondary is going to ball out even more. And my God, please protect our quarterback, for God's sakes. Like, the reason he was out the games he was out was a direct result of the offensive line.
Well, unfortunately, he has been. It's just been bad. You know, I mean, we invested in Morgan, and he didn't prove to be anything. We invested in Belton, and it didn't prove to be anything. We invested in Sean Ryan in the 3rd round. That did not pan out. We invested in Banks, a massive contract at guard. That did nothing. So, I mean, we have been very consistent in building this offensive line. It's just been miss after miss after miss after miss after miss. So it's not necessarily a failure of philosophy. It's just a massive failure in execution. And I don't know which one's worse, but that's just kind of where we're at.
And absolutely blowing it, dude.
Yeah.
Like, please, for the love of God, protect this man, because that is Jordan Love, like, just under duress at an extreme rate all year.
Yep.
I mean, almost all quarterbacks that have ever played the game under that kind of pressure that he was under would have just folded, dude, like a piece of paper. And it didn't. Instead, he's back there having one of his best years statistically. So I just please, Packers, accentuate what we have here and protect the franchise as well, man. All right, Packer fans. We're getting through the offseason. We're making our way. What are we, about the 40% mark here? So, we're getting there. Anyway, talk to y'all later.
Yeah, and the unfortunate part is because they have invested, they're less likely to invest. You know what I mean? Because we got Banks and Morgan and Belton, and then gave Ryan an extension, and, you know, obviously Zach Tom, you know, who we like, but he got in a giant contract. I mean, the odds are it's just much lower. Not that we'll do nothing at offensive line, but the idea that we're going to savagely attack this thing as opposed to the other positions that genuinely have massive questions. Like, you know, tomorrow we'll dive in a little bit on defensive tackle. And that was another one that after looking at it, I realized it's in a lot worse shape than I had realized. So that's going to have to be massively addressed, I think, even more so than I thought. So, you know, I think in principle you're right, and in principle I think the Packers even agree. I just think that they have hitch their wagon to a horse that's just not. I just don't know if it's going to. I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful. If Zach Tom can be healthy, Morgan and or Belton taking sizable steps, Banks being hopefully healthy and better than he was last year. Because again, as much as I don't think Banks has ever been good, that was certainly his worst year ever, and I'm sure the injuries played into that. It should be a better offensive line, but how much better? And at what point do we say, "Good, you have to freaking cut weight with these guys," because it's never. I mean, they're going to sink us. This is not going to work. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Ryan, it's Garrett from Southern Illinois.
Yo.
Well, 1265 just proved my point that every call does matter, Ryan.
Okay. Good.
Every call matters. Or if she had not called in, we would not have known that the Paralympics sled hockey team got gold against Canada.
You're right. You nailed it.
So there you go. If you had skipped that call, we would never have known that. So I just love it when I'm right. I love it when I'm right. So at least I'm right 2 times
Batting 1,000,
in the day, like a clock. So that's more than some people get, right? Yeah. So anyways, way to go, 1265.
My goal is to be right twice a day so I can at least be as smart as a broken clock. There's a thing.
Well, I see that old Smith and Jigba got a little contract.
Sure did.
$40 million a year. That is insane. Man. It seemed like not too long ago, like a top-tier receiver got around 20. And all of a sudden it jumped to 30, now it's jumping to 40.
Right. Things are moving fast.
I just, it's kind of, I don't blame him for getting the money. Don't get me wrong. Because, a buddy of mine said something to me one time and I was complaining about, guys holding out for money. When it's billionaires arguing with billionaires, you kind of want to take the billionaires' side, right? Because the billionaires, like if they're not paying Smith and Jigba that much, well, then the owner, whoever it is making that much more money. I get it. The only thing is it kind of craps on you and me, the fan, Which I don't get because the NFL does so much to make money. Like, how much they're making on gambling? That doesn't affect anything. But does it hurt a team? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a big fan of gambling. I think it does more harm than good. You could follow when, gambling goes into remember they had gambling casinos. It's not on land. It's not saying, whatever. In Baton Rouge or Biloxi, it's just crime just goes, crime's there's a casino. Let's just go be there, right? Prostitution, drugs, all the good stuff, it's not a good thing to lace your hands with, I think, business-wise. But the NFL, they make so much money on just that. And TV deals, I wish they wouldn't turn around and say, oh, by the way, fans, we're going to screw you, too. We're going to be the NFL jag-offs of the week. We're going to make you pay a crap ton more to go watch this game, right? It's I remember when the cap went up considerably 10 years ago, and I was thinking, silly me, hey, that's cool. Now instead of, being able to, because, we're all offensive-minded people. We want a bunch of receivers. Now instead of having one receiver who's top, we can maybe get 2, right? Well, no, it didn't mean that at all. All it meant was that the receivers who won, were getting 15, now want 25. And that's the way it is. The quarterbacks used to get, I remember when Brett Favre signed for $10 million a year. Now, no one cared. I mean, it might have been on a story and a news thing, but no, there was no social media. Just throw it out there and enrage all the dum-dums. Life went on and no one even cared. But now you got guys making 60. It's not going to be long where quarterbacks are going to make $100 million a year. Right?
Oh, yeah. That'll be very soon. All right. That ended kind of abruptly. There is a part 2. I mean, I think we just have to think about it in terms, we get too hung up on the big numbers. And I think the more we do that, the more people are going to start to get these feelings of disgust. And we shouldn't. Because at the end of the day, in part, this explosion of money is also coming along with inflation. That is part of the equation here. I mean, it's not as much money. That's part of the ticket prices going up as well. Is it's things change over time. And so we just kind of have to adjust. For example, when we look at, the amount of money, I think we'd be better served to look at the percentage of the salary cap. I don't think it's necessarily that, guys are just taking more money as much as it's like they're taking the exact same percentage that they've always taken with some shifts. Running backs used to be more valuable, so they maybe would get a bigger percentage. Now wide receivers get a bigger percentage and whatever. Quarterbacks have always gotten a massive percentage. But, I'm worried about what's going to happen as the salary. Like I'm excited about it. I like that the salary cap is going up, but I just think people's perceptions are going to, and I'm not wired this way. I'm not like you mentioned earlier, if millionaires and billionaires get into it, we all root for the million. I don't. I don't at all. I have no natural animosity toward billionaires because they're billionaires. They're just people that are more successful than me. That's it. And that's something to be, I don't know. I look up to that and I admire that, and I'm it's like somebody who's in better shape than me. I don't hate them. They're just better at doing that thing that they want to accomplish. I'm not wired that way. I don't know why people are, but whatever. I don't have an anger toward money or people making money. I'm happy for people that make money. Good for them. But I do know that a huge portion of the population is wired that way. And again, as the salary cap goes up, there's going to be further and further discomfort, I guess, with the situation. There's sort of an unease about things, and that's just too much money, and I don't know, I don't like this, and that's honestly my concern with this more than anything, is kind of what, to some degree, what you're articulating, which is this is getting a little crazy with these numbers. Again, I personally don't care. I see it as he's getting the same percentage that, probably Sterling Sharp got back in the day, or Randy Moss got. It's just a bigger number now. It's like I've used the example several times when I worked at a hospital. They told you just have to adapt your brain to bigger numbers. You're going to swipe a credit card to make a $10,000 repair, and it's just no big deal. We're just dealing with bigger numbers. And as the salary cap goes up every year, and this is why I keep saying stuff like this, we have to readjust. It used to be much more gradual. Now it's shocking. To go up 10 million it took many, many, many years. Now it's just kind of like every year. What used to be 30 is now 40. I mean, Devontae got 30. It was not that long ago. And now we're talking 40. I mean, it's not exactly a year, but for quarterbacks, it might be. Go from 40 to 50 to 60 pretty freaking quick. So, anyways, I don't know. I don't really think about it all that much. I don't see it as necessarily a negative. The salary cap is what it is, and players get a percentage of that, and the percentages have been pretty stagnant. The percentages have hardly moved at all, and that's really how you judge how good of a contract it really is. It's not the number; it's the percentage. You look at Joe Burrow and the actual percentage he got. That was a massive contract, and it has nothing to do, because we all know in 5 years we're going to look back at Joe Burrow's contract and go, that guy got screwed, because we're so focused on the stupid number. Number is irrelevant. Number means nothing. I sometimes even think too, man, football players back in the day that we thought were super rich, I kind of wonder how they're getting by. He made $2 million in his NFL career. Dude, that was 30 years ago. What is he he must be out of money a long time. I mean, I'm hoping he invested, and it's crazy to think about that today. To think that in 30 years, guys that are making $40 million contracts, we're going to be thinking, I hope they invested that money, because $30 million ain't going to last all that long, which is an unfortunate situation or reality, but we're probably going to be there. Anyways, I'm off on a freaking tangent, but I guess I'm just unbothered by all that kind of stuff. How many freaking times you got to tell kids to be quiet? Jeez. Anyways, Nico part 2.
So instead of and really that's they once again good for you for getting your money, but you hear a lot of the players say that too, but I think they're a little jaded. I think maybe by the time they get to where they're at, maybe the love of the game that us fans have, I think maybe sometimes, not all of them, but sometimes it's a little gone on them. Then now they're just about getting that bag. Like, I get it. I wish I could have played a game and made millions of dollars, but, I do it for free. But I just wish the NFL would be like, hey, fans, you guys are why we're still here. Why we made it this far. Let's not charge $3,000 for a freaking crappy seat in the stadium. I mean, I don't know. I guess everyone is just this constant barrage for money. I do wonder, because obviously the NFL is king, and it's been king for a while. Baseball was king when I was a kid, and then it kind of went wah, wah, wah. The NBA was king for a while too, maybe in the 90s, 80s, early 2000s, and then, turned into what it is now. I wonder if the NFL will sort of price itself out of just, it's tough, if I live in Green Bay, that's one thing. Or when I lived in San Diego, I could go see a game. You don't have to worry about flights and hotels. But if you're a flying in fan, I mean, the one game I did see, it cost me a couple grand. I had to fly in. I had to get an Airbnb for like 3 days. I stayed longer, but I kind of wanted to because I didn't know if I was going to come back. Shelling out all the money at the pro shop. I mean, it just freaking adds up, And I only bought one ticket. And I didn't buy no food or alcohol when I was there. I didn't need any when I was in there. I don't know what happened, but somehow by the time I got to the game, no, I wasn't even all liquored up. Like in my 20s, I wanted to remember it. I didn't want to be like, I went to wanted to experience it all, but the NFL's almost getting to where it's like, I don't know, I mean, it's a good thing it's on TV. If people that complain about it being on Prime, it's like, okay, we'll get Prime. I ain't rich. I got Prime, It's not like it's the hardest thing in the world to get. People complain about Peacock. I mean, what's Peacock? $15 a week? A month?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. People that complain about that go to Starbucks twice a day. Okay,
right, yeah.
Hey, just let's try to figure this out. Anyway, yeah, that's a lot of money. I wonder if Christian Watson's going to want $30 million in a year now. I don't know. But hey, I guess it ain't my money, right? Hey, go Pac, go.
Well, as far as do I think they're going to price themselves out? No, I think the reality is there's just a lot of money out there, and I mean, again, inflation is part of it. The money's keeping pace with inflation. I don't know how much it's outpacing it, or if it's behind, or what exactly is going on with that. I haven't cared enough to look at that, but you think about what the Packers said, they're undercharging, which essentially means they could jack up the price even more and still fill that stadium, no problem. So, I don't have the money, and, maybe you don't have the money, but the money's absolutely out there. The demand is very, very high. So, it might be harder for some people to get to the games, but that ain't the case for everybody. And I think the NFL, they know what they can price things at, and they're always going to keep the ticket prices there. And if things get hard and they end up having to lower it, they will lower it. I know a lot of people, oh yeah, right. No, it's basic common sense. Of course they will. They're going to do what they need to do to make the most amount of money, and having a half-empty stadium because you just feel like having higher ticket prices while still making less money is not how that works, and that's not what they're going to do. They absolutely will if some kind of catastrophic event happens where nobody has any money anymore. That's just the way it goes. But the fact of the matter is, people, the economy is going up. There's more and more money. There's more money circulating, and more people have more money, and so the prices go up, and that's just the way it goes, and that's how it's always going to go. And in reality, it's from the NFL standpoint, it's keeping pace. I mean, if they choose to never raise their prices, they're losing money. The amount you make goes down because inflation's going up. So, I know we all want things to be cheaper or less, or stop raising your prices or whatever. But I mean, this is the way it goes. Just like you want a pay raise, why do I have to keep paying you more money every year? Because the world's more expensive every year, bro. And because I got more experience now and stuff. So just, shut up and give me more money. Speaking of, patreon.com/Pac_Daddy if you'd like to bump your $1 donation to a $2 donation. I chose to get a job that does not offer raises, by the way, so that was brilliant. Or insurance or anything for that matter. But, whatever. I mean, going to a football game has always been expensive. I don't know, there's ever really been a time in my life where it's like, oh yeah, it's a piece of cake going to a game. Or flying or hotels or anything. Hotels are the only thing that I feel like are not going up in price very much. I feel like my entire life hotels have been like 125, 150 bucks. It's like Holiday Inn has just been like, yeah, 150 bucks to get you a hotel room, like for eternity. It's like Arizona iced tea and a Holiday Inn room is 150 bucks. And the Costco hot dogs. We don't change our prices. But yeah, stuff, the numbers go up. It's the way it goes across the board, it seems. Houses get more expensive, cars get more expensive, football players, football tickets, football jerseys, footballs, charcoal, meat. Good Lord, meat. It's just the most painful thing. Meat is to the point it's like I can't justify hardly eating meat at these prices anymore. I keep talking to AI about what should we do for like dietary stuff, like, could we do this or that? Or it's like, well, the biggest thing you got to get is protein. You got to get protein. It's like, okay, well, let's assume I can't afford that. It's like, well, it's fine. You just will have zero muscle mass, especially as you get older, you just lose muscle mass. So you probably should eat protein. It's like, well, then screw it, I guess. I don't know. I guess I won't have any muscle anymore. I don't know what to tell you. Can't afford muscle. Sorry. Basically an economic frickin' vegetarian at this point. Anywho, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey Ryan, it's Drew from Green Bay, and I wanted to talk about the pass rushers a little bit. And in regards to drafting pass rushers. So obviously Parsons is going to be hurt for a bit, and so our other pass rushers are Lucas Van Ness, and we'll probably have Baron Sorrell next to him until Parsons comes back. And then as backups, we have Brenton Cox and Colin Oliver. And then, even behind them, we have Aaron Mosby, who's just, he doesn't, I thought he showed, flashes at times. And then there's Dante Burnett. I don't know much about him, but I just think, if we go and draft, we don't have first round pick. If we go and draft an edge guy, even in the second round, is he really going to be right off the bat, week one, better than these other guys? So, I mean, maybe, but I just feel like we're not going to get a whole lot. So, you can never have too many edge guys, but when we're solo on picks, I just don't think that forcing edge is necessary. And when Parsons comes back, I mean, you have Parsons and Van Ness with and I think Sorrell might pass Van Ness, but we'll see. He's gonna have to prove it on the field. And then the other thing I wanted to mention on our lads, with the depth chart, is Zaire Franklin and Javon Hargrave are both listed as starters, and then Sky Moore is listed as a punt return starter. So even though we haven't broke the bank for the guys this year, we have gotten what are being projected as starters. So we have improved the team. But anyways, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, part of the edge discussion too, anything in the draft, there's what makes sense to me, there's what makes sense to you, and then there's what we think makes sense to Brian Gutekunst. And I think edge is a worthwhile discussion on its own merit. But also it's just kind of a, what would Gutekunst do kind of a thing. This is, you got to remember, we drafted Rashawn Gary at 13 after we went out and got Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith. So the fact that we're going to have a, elite pass rusher several months into the season coming off an ACL repair, and we're not really sure exactly what that means. Therefore, we're good with just Van Ness and Sorrell. Maybe. I don't know. At the bottom, at the end of the day, I'm not saying it's a number one priority. Maybe it is. I don't know, but it would not in any way shock me if we took an edge rusher. In fact, it would be one of those things you look at and just go, "Oh yeah, we probably should have thought of that." To be honest, we should have taken that a little bit more seriously. I mean, it's first of all, it's Brian Gutekunst. Second of all, premium position, et cetera, et cetera. As far as is he going to contribute right away? I don't know. But at the same time, I think there would probably be some expectation, number one. Number two, it's a body that is rotational. Like, is he going to be Micah Parsons? No. Could he be better than Van Ness? I mean, look, I think honestly Van Ness is maybe a little underrated by the fan base. I think Barron Sorrell is massively overrated by the fan base. I think Sorrell looked good in a couple plays, and he got a ton of hype. I hope he's a good football player. But, he had, 131 pass rush attempts. He had 7 pressures. That's a 5% pressure rate. That is dog crap with a 51 pass rush grade. Do I think he's going to pass Lucas Van Ness? No. I'm hoping he's not a complete and total bust, is my only concern for Barron Sorrell. I'm not casting him off. But, I'm saying this as sort of shock treatment to a fan base that has kind of crowned him like the next great thing, despite the fact that he was bad last year. Nobody knows that because on social media, people would post his handful of good plays and say, look how elite he is. Because this is the stupid game we play. I hope he takes a big step. But Barron Sorrell, as far as I'm concerned, is a bad pass rusher. And Van Ness, he was off to a good start last year as far as like this is his breakout campaign. And he was good, especially considering, he had 6 weeks and then he missed a ton of time and then had to come back week 12, missed a bunch more time, came back week 15, 16, 17 in the wild card game. I mean, that kind of chopped up bull crap. He had, 4 games that were below a 60. 2 of them were right in that like crazy period. Week 12, that one time he came back, played 6 snaps, which he should not have been on the field. And then week 15, his first game back against Denver. Otherwise, it was his first 2 weeks. So it took him a little while to get revved up in both instances. But once he got going, it was 83, 72, 68, 70, 75. He had, 27 pressures on 178 attempts. So 15% pressure rate, 71 PFF grade, almost a 70 run defense grade. I mean, He's starting to look like a legit football player. Barron Sorrell, I don't even know if he's a backup right now. Well, he has to become good enough to be a backup. And the fact that he's like our number 2 is problematic. So, again, the idea of adding a guy that should, if he's a second-round pick worth anything, he should be able to come in, hopefully being better than Barron Sorrell. At least to be able to compete with that. And then, if Micah comes back midseason and is hopefully right back where he was, that puts us where we were no different than last year with Rashawn Gary. Right? I mean, it's another pass rusher. I don't think last year we're thinking like, why do we need another pass rusher? This is weird. But also, we have to remember, and I don't want to advocate for we should draft a guy just for the first handful of weeks, but I tell you what, if Van Ness is just kind of and Sorrell is bad, we just have 0 pass rush for half a season. I mean, that could cost us a serious chunk of games. We'll see what happens. I don't know. And I think, let me go back real quick. I think Sorrell at least was good against the run. He had a 63 run defense grade. So at least there's that. There's also the question of like when you make him stand up, like maybe he's going to be better, maybe he's going to be worse. I don't know what that means. And Van Ness might go completely backwards, which is the other problem. Van Ness was terrible in his first year when we were 3-4. Year 2, we put his hand in the dirt. He looked great. Maybe that had nothing to do with it. Maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. Well, actually, it was year 1 was his stand-up. Year 2 was his first time in a new system, and it was bad. And then year 2 in that system. So, I mean, the whole thing is just messed up. You know what I mean? Like, now he has to go back to what he did his rookie year. I don't know what that means as far, maybe it doesn't make a difference. I don't know. And yes, I'm very well aware that we're in nickel a lot of the time. That doesn't really change the fact that it is different. And not only the alignment, not only the fact that you're going to have to stand up a handful of the time, but also just what your assignments and what you're asked to do and how you're asked to do things is different. So I don't know. We'll see. I think something to keep an eye on too is whether or not they give Van Ness the fifth-year option. They haven't done it yet. Quite a few people have been given a fifth-year option. If they don't give Lucas Van Ness a fifth-year option, that tells you how confident they are in him and his future. And again, as much as we want to hope that it's not a thing, the fact that Micah Parsons is coming off an ACL, we don't know what's coming out the other side. We don't know if that's going to get re-injured. We don't know if he's going to have recurring knee injury issues. We don't know if his play is going to completely fall off. I think our confidence in the edge group is not necessarily elite, and it certainly is not very high in Barron Sorrell. So again, it doesn't mean it's our biggest need, but I absolutely would not put it past the Packers to take a swing at a Danny Dennis Sutton or something in the second round. And I would prepare yourself for that, I guess would be the other side of that. Because if we convince ourselves, no, he would never do that, you know that that's exactly the thing that they're going to do. Let's make it our goal every year, just like we do every year. And I fail every year. Don't get surprised this year. Don't let yourself get caught off guard this year.
Hey, this is Ben from Minnesota.
Hey.
I've been hearing a lot of calls about people calling in about like a Packers farm team.
Yeah.
Which is a cool idea.
It's fun.
But I think, and maybe somebody's already brought this up and I just missed it. If they just extended the draft and made it, I don't know, 15 rounds even, and then those guys, like, okay, UDFA, stuff like that, then those guys make up the team. And then you can basically have two rosters you can kind of filter between. Like, they're still all Packer players.
Mm-hmm.
And that it'd be like a huge practice team that actually played games. I think that'd be pretty cool. Because then if you really liked the guy and then he moved up to the Packers and got to play on Sunday, that would be, you know, a huge deal. So I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also, just another late round guy that I like. What am I missing on Lorenzo Styles? I know he's a safety, but like all the mock drafts and stuff I've been doing, he's kind of been like a 7th round pick.
Very late, yeah.
And I know he's not great, but
204.
I mean, he's fast and good tackling grade and everything.
Crazy.
I just want to know what I'm missing. And, like, I don't know if it's PFF or whatever will tell you this, but can he play corner? Like, that'd be pretty cool, I think. Let me know. All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Lorenzo Styles is Sonny Styles' brother, the Ohio State guy that's potentially a top 5 prospect at this point. He was going to be kind of close to a top 10 linebacker, absolutely blew up the combine. Well, his brother Lorenzo comes in and was arguably more impressive. I mean, it's hard to argue either direction because they're both such absolute freaks. But let me just pull up real quick. Let's do his RAS. That's something we can all kind of identify with. So it's actually kind of funny. When you go over to RAS and you type in 2026, Garrison Grimes, the long snapper, is the only 10 out of 10. That's I don't even know who that is. That's shocking. I missed that story. The most athletic guy is wait a minute. Just give me 5 seconds here. Long snapper out of BY. Can we hold on? Grimes. Give me just a second here. This is Garrison Grimes, 291. So he's like UDFA territory. I know it seems ridiculous to say we got to draft this guy, but we got to draft this guy. I mean, to be fair, after you snap it, what do? You run down and you make a tackle, right? I'm freaking blown away that the most athletic guy, according to RAS, is a long snapper. He is 6'2", 236 pounds, 22 reps on the bench, a 4.81. Wait a minute. Maybe it's just because it's long snapper and this is position adjusted. because that's not impressive for 236 pounds at all. Yeah, that must just be what it is. It's position. None of this is very impressive. All right, never mind. I mean, it's still cool, but after him, after Garrison Grimes, is Sonny Styles with a 9.99. Second is Lorenzo Styles, his brother, the cornerback / safety, I guess. He's listed as a cornerback here. Ohio State, also a 9.99, along with Taylon Green and a few other guys. Let's actually pull it up for the specifics of what he did and whatnot. So he is 6 foot, 194 pounds, 4.27 40-yard dash with a 39-inch vertical. If he didn't do the broad jump, so that's not really graded, I guess. I mean, it's individually graded, but not group graded. But he was elite speed grade, probably would have been elite explosion if he did the broad jump. I'm guessing he would have done quite well in that as well. Didn't do agility stuff. I don't know if Ohio State had their pro day. I don't think so. Well, if they did, I haven't seen it yet. And I don't know if he would have done anything. Usually, guys like that are going to just kind of sit on their numbers. Maybe he would have done some agility drills. I don't know. As far as why, I mean, it just comes down to two things, I think. It's the athleticism versus the question of are you just a good football player? And I think he's still more in the like developmental. At least he's viewed that way. I'm not saying that's my perspective. I have no freaking idea. But I think the consensus is he's still more developmental than his brother. If we look at his PFF, for example, 3 years at Ohio State, he had 3 snaps in 2023, 162 snaps in 2024, which is not a starting season, and then 400 snaps in 2025 where he had a 66 grade. So he started for a year, and in that there were still a handful of games he didn't start, and several games he didn't even play. He played weeks 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then the bowl game. So he missed time. Presumably injury, I don't know. But he didn't play all that well. So I think he's the first issue is he's toolsy, but I don't know that it necessarily is translating to elite football play. Number 2 is he's kind of a tweener. He's a safety / slot cornerback. He was originally a wide receiver, which is probably, let me actually look at his wide receiver numbers. Maybe that's what he was doing early on. But he doesn't really have, so he didn't really do it as a, so he was a wide receiver that didn't play, and then they switched him. He's a wide receiver at Notre Dame, then flipped to DB at Ohio State. So he is a tweener. He is new. He is, I mean, he's kind of like, you could almost say you can think of him as like a Bo Melton, I guess. He's got a ton of athleticism where you feel like maybe he could be a receiver, maybe he could be a corner, maybe he could be a slot guy, maybe he could be a safety. But I don't know that it's really pinpointed that he's really very good at any one of these things. And so it's kind of just like toolsy, high upside kind of a guy more than anything. And, again, you look at the grades here, and I think it's consistent with what people think when they watch him is that he's okay, but he's not a dominant player. So basically he's really fast, and nobody knows exactly what to do with him or if he's a good football player would kind of be the answer. As far as, I mean, the tackling thing, he is usually, I mean, his grade was a 57, but I mean, it's because of 2 bad games. Generally speaking, he's a very good tackler, and his run defense grade is a 71. So he does have some things that work to his advantage, and a 64 coverage grade is not bad. You would hope for better than that, especially in college, but I mean, it's not terrible. But the fact that he's never really had that like dominant year or anything that you can kind of sink your teeth into, like there's games. He had 2 really good games, week 13 against Rutgers. I mean, if you really wanted to do a deep dive, see if you can find it on YouTube or something. Week 13 against Rutgers, he had a 76 grade, 75 tackling, and 80 coverage. And then week 6 against Minnesota, both of these games, by the way, unfortunately, were games he did not play a lot of snaps. These are Minnesota's one of the games he didn't actually start, but 85 grade, 77 tackling, and 84 coverage. So, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to kind of dig into it and really see him at his best, and I'm sure he's got some good highlights. Guys like this usually have great highlights. But I think that's more or less the answer to the question. He hasn't really developed into a good football player yet. It's not to say I wouldn't be jacked if we snagged him in the 7th round or something, just as like a fun flyer. And again, like a Bo Melton type, I mean, if nothing else, you could try him out at kick and punt return. You can try him on special teams. I as a freaking gunner, I think he could have some potential with his speed and everything. A guy that fast, that's a good tackler. For special teams purposes alone, I'd be excited about. But then just, see if you can develop him. Gannon's pretty good with DBs, and we got some really good DB coaches and whatnot. Let's see. Screw it. So, anywho, all right, I'm going to get out of here. You all have a great rest of your night. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.